Welcome to the Working Women's Channel. My name is Clara Capano, and we're going to share the real secrets to success. Come on in. Brandy, thank you so much for coming and spending time with me today. It is so great to see you.
It's great to see you too. Thanks for having me.
I know.
Honored.
Now, we go way back. I think when we met for the first time, you were maybe 18 and I was like around 20. And
I think I was 20 as well.
Were you? Yeah. So it goes back a while.
It does.
And, you were in the Air Force. So thank you for your service as a veteran for our country. And it's been fun. Even though we've lost connection over the years, we reconnected several years when you moved here to Colorado and we realized we just lived about down the street from each other.
We did. I know. That was fun.
Yes, it was fun. We went to yoga together a couple of times and I love it. So I'm really excited to share your story and be able to just introduce our viewers to you.
Great, thanks.
So what we're talking about here is success, and specifically success for women in business, because we know that it's different, especially for women who on top of it have families and are running their busy careers. Yes. We also know that on the road to success, we sometimes have some bumps in the road. And I know for you particularly, a few years ago, you had something very unique and challenging that came up for you that, kind of was a pretty big deal in your road to success and just growth. Would you like to share that with our viewers?
Sure. First, let me say, I'm a second-time single mother. After my first divorce, I thought I really, truly found myself in a career that I didn't really choose, but it just happened and it was really good. But I found over the years that I got frustrated in that career because I didn't think that I could go to school and work at the same time. And really, to take my career to the next level, I needed to go to school. I needed some education. And so instead of going to school, I got remarried and I moved to Colorado. And I left that career behind. But then just a couple of years later, I found myself just as my mother said I would, missing that career. And I found myself a single mother a second time. And with my second divorce it was interesting. As marriages go, they start going downhill and you try to put in the work to, find the cause of the problem, talk through things. But that didn't really seem to be an option in our case. And I came home one day and he was moving out. And I wasn't working because he didn't want me to work. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And of course I thought, well, I had been starting doing some childcare. I'll open a childcare in my home. And the plan was that he would help me do the things necessary to make that happen. Then the next week, he took him for a few days over 4th of July weekend, and then he disappeared. He fell off the face of the earth, and with my son, who was 2.5 at the time. Mm-hmm. And that began a journey unlike any other. I got to know people in the district attorney's office very well.
I would imagine so. I mean, how terrifying. You let them go with their father, with the expectation of, I'll see you in a few days, which already is hard enough, to let your child go and then to be like, well, where are you?
Right. It was hard. And with every passing day, I figured this can't keep going on. We've got to be able to find him. But it was very difficult because he wasn't committing a crime. We were married. We hadn't filed for divorce. There were no injunctions. He was just able to do what he was until he was found. But because he hadn't committed a crime, the police were very limited. Their hands were tied on what they could do to help me find him. So it was really difficult. And it as days turned into weeks, turned into months. Mm-hmm. At the 6-month point, I was like, how is it that my son, my baby, can be gone for this long and I can't find him? Of course, my ex-husband had a lot of help, staying hidden, back and forth between here and Missouri. And, a lot of family members have property and where he was able to stay out of sight. And about 6 months in, my mom had asked me several times if her former boss could help. The company that my mom worked for in West Virginia was owned by a senator, had been owned by a senator. Of course, when he went into the Senate, he had to let the business go, but he still stopped by frequently and checked in on people because, he built relationships in his business. And every time he came into town, he would stop at my mom's desk for an update. Have they found your grandson yet? What can I do to help?
Wow.
And that was Senator McKinley. And finally, my mom called me and she said, Senator McKinley was in again and asked what he can do to help. He's on the Energy Committee with Cory Gardner. You're one of his constituents. What can we do? So I finally said, okay, let it go. Let him rip. So I did get a call from Cory Gardner's aide, and they just sent an inquiry. They just did an inquiry with the Longmont Police Department. And I think what that did was give some backing to the police department that they were able to do more. They were just able to kind of stretch the bounds of. It
was almost as if it gave them permission. To go forward with something that they were
exactly. And that's when things started to happen.
And we're at the 6 month mark at this point?
Yes, getting close to 7. Yeah. And then about 8 months in, I had finally found the location of one of the family members. I'd known that somebody had a business somewhere, but I couldn't figure out where it was. I knew it was in Denver somewhere. And I finally found it. I did a lot of investigation. I learned how to do some private investigating over the time. I would sit on Christmas night. My friend and I sat out all night watching family members' houses with binoculars, waiting to see if they would show up for Christmas. So we finally found this location, and the Longmont Police was able to borrowed a camera from the drug team and mounted it to an abandoned building next door to this family member's place of business. And my officer in Longmont, she watched that video feed on her iPad for a week and a half.
Oh my goodness.
And she took it home with her. She just kept watching for any sight of my son or my ex-husband. And right before she had to turn that camera in because the drug team needed it back for another operation, the day before it was scheduled to come down, she caught a glimpse of them coming and going. And she alerted the Denver police. And of course, they were on their way out. So the Denver police were too late, and it kind of tipped them off. But at the end of the day, they were able to track my father-in-law's phone. And after a 2.5 hour search of another family property, they found my son. And at that point, it had been 9 months.
9 months. I can only imagine that call that you got saying, "We found him, we have them."
Yeah.
We got
him. We got him. That was the call. And it was a long time coming. And it was almost unbelievable because it had been so long.
What an amazing story. And, you don't need to go into the details, but your son was okay?
He was. He was. And as you know, that was short-lived. 2 months later, my ex-husband broke into my home and took my son again through force. And this time, he was committing a crime. So he was found in 27 hours. He was found in Canada. So it took an additional 2 days to get him back from Canada. But get him back, I did.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So going through it, not once, but twice. Again, luckily we were, your team was able to bring them back in. But during this time, how do you show up for life, for jobs that you have? I mean, I couldn't even imagine going to work and have to focus on work. I would want to be checking the cameras, checking the news feeds, calling the, police every 5 minutes. How did you get through that?
I'll be brutally honest with you, and I know some of this might not be popular with everybody, but God got me through that. he never left my side.
Well, I know you've always been a person of faith. I
Yes.
mean, even since
Yes.
we've known each other for years.
I love Jesus, and I know that he loves me, and it doesn't make my life perfect, but I'm never alone. And I truly wasn't alone. I had no promises. I had no, there were no deals. There were no conditions. There was just a constant presence. And that was helpful. That was everything, truly. But other things, I surrounded myself with people who would help me, look with me, research with me, do online searches. I had people here and back in my home state of West Virginia that were doing things online, spreading word. And I even had some friends hold a benefit so that I could pay a private investigator. It was really amazing. I didn't sleep much. I averaged about an hour and a half to 3 hours a day of sleep. I was cleaning houses. I had just started my cleaning business. Yeah, it was a crazy time. I didn't sleep. I looked and I looked.
I would imagine, I mean, anyone in your shoes, I would do the same thing. So, and this is a story that has a good ending to it, which thankfully it does.
It does.
And being able to, move past that. Would you say in retrospect, how did this, I use the word help you loosely, but how did you grow from this experience? What were some of the things that it brought out of you that turned into blessings?
One important thing that I learned is to be careful who you let into your life. And be careful who you give control of your life to. I think I determined that no one else on this earth was ever going to control my life again. My life is in my hands. Right. And it took me a few years to get it together. I would say I was in survival mode for about 3 years before I finally decided to go to school. And I have a lot of lessons that I've learned over the years, and I'm glad to share any of those with you.
What would you say maybe is the biggest lesson, other than learning that you are in control of your own destiny?
Well, a couple of the biggest lessons are pride. In order to move forward, you have to get over your pride.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need help, and I desperately needed help.
Yeah.
I got into a county program, a housing program, while I was in school, and that was a key to my success. Yeah. But I had to get over my pride in accepting that help.
And I want to just talk about that for a moment, because I think that is such a big thing for women especially, and especially in business, regardless of how big it is. For whatever reason, we have such a hard time asking for help. We have a hard time opening up on that level of vulnerability, whether it's I'm a single mom and I'm about to lose my and I need some help, whether it's, I need some money because I can't put food on the table or put a roof over the head, or, you know what, I'm just having a rough time and I need somebody to help me. So I really acknowledge you in coming through that and understanding that, but it's hard to do. So yeah. So learning that lesson, and I would imagine even also just in the help of when you were finding your son and getting your team together with that, because you did have to reach out because you're tenacious.
I am.
You are someone, you're like a dog with a bone. You do not let things go, which is great and certainly helped you. But, being able to bring your tribe in. So, being able to ask for help. So pride. What would be another big lesson?
Accountability. First, being accountable to myself, accountable to my children. You have to choose your priorities and who you're going to be accountable to. But sometimes you have to find somebody that's not directly invested and be accountable to them. And the Family Self-Sufficiency Program gave me that person to be accountable to. My first program manager that I met with monthly was amazing, and how she helped me through that process of becoming accountable. And everybody's afraid, I have to sign my life away if I take help from the government. And she didn't treat it like that. She was like, I'm here to help you gain tools to become independent again.
I love that.
And I had to do budgets with her. So I had to open up my banking account and record all of my expenses, and that was a level of vulnerability that I was totally unprepared for.
Right.
But it ended up being a good thing, because she told me, she said, I don't care how you spend your money, and it is your money, and I don't care how you spend it. I want you to see how you're spending it so you can make decisions around how you're spending your money. And she was very helpful.
Yeah, when you have to take a really honest look at yourself in whatever angles of life it is, it's, very eye-opening and a big growth.
And I think another really important thing is therapy. I haven't done a lot of traditional therapy. My kids both have. I'm a barrier. I just kind of bury things. But it's important to at least have somebody to talk to, somebody impartial. I have my pastor. I have friends through my faith community. I have other mentors outside the faith community, people that I am able to talk to help process. Like I said, I was in that survival mode for about 3 years. You really need to move past that in order to achieve success. And I saw it a lot with the other women in the program that I was in. They had a hard time making good sound decisions for their lives, because you're just so used to getting by minute by minute. And sometimes it's even second by second when you've been through trauma.
Right.
You really need help getting through that. And I would stress it, have somebody to talk to, get past that survival mode, and so you can start making good decisions for your
And what
future.
I found is when I started, asking for help, it was amazing how open it was back to me. I mean, people were thrilled to be able to help. And the light bulb went off of, why have I been waiting for so long? When all of this help is here. And it's truly amazing when we start to open up how the help does come, and how it truly is a beautiful thing to be able to allow us all to be able to go forward.
Right.
So now fast forward after this, I'm so glad that you got the passion back in you to go after your career, because you're smart and you are a hard worker, and you have earned the right to have your time and celebrate your success. So you did go back to school. So now you are a single mom, 2 kids, going back to school and running your own business, cleaning houses and doing things. How did you manage all of that?
You really can't do it all. So you have to decide what's important. A lesson that I learned a long time ago and still try to implement is choosing what's important over what's urgent. Things come along that are urgent all the time, and you feel like you have to drop the important balls to pick up that urgent ball. But it takes some prep work to try to avoid those urgencies as much as possible.
I love it. So in looking back on everything, what would you say is something that you're most proud of?
My relationship with my kids. My mom had a very open relationship. My mom and I have always been able to talk. I could tell her anything. And I was determined to take that into my relationship with my kids. And my daughter is almost 25. And she calls me almost daily, and I love being able to talk to her and talk her through the struggles that she has. And I like being able to listen to her, because she's learned some things in her career, and she's an inspiration to me as well.
I love it.
So I love that she calls me. And in my son, I love that he feels comfortable talking to me, especially, he's 11 now, and there's some difficult topics coming up, because he's a boy,
right?
And I'm not, and we have some really fun and funny conversations,
We do.
But some serious conversations, and I determined early on to help build in some boundaries with him, some physical boundaries, so that he understood, going into his relationships later, that there are physical boundaries and, understanding consent. I think that's an important thing to build in with our boys.
Very important.
And it starts with us as moms.
It does. Teaching them again about respect, again, for themselves, for other women, just all those things going on. So yeah, that is wonderful. So Brandy, tell us what's next for you. You have your bachelor's, you have this great new job. What's next for Brandy?
Next is to be for settling into my job, learning more, because I'm only 4 months in. I have so much more to learn. My boss told me in the beginning, he says, it's going to take you a year. And of course I'm like, well, it won't take me a year. Well, yes, it will. You really will. It's a lot. When you're buying parts that, cost, the kind of money that they do for government programs, there should be a lot. So it is a lot to learn, but I'm enjoying it. But I do have some certifications that I want to get in purchasing and project management. And then within the next 2 years, I will start working on my master's degree.
I love it. That's so fantastic. Very exciting.
Thank you.
So as we wrap it all together, any last words or a last message that you want to leave for our viewers?
You can do more than you think you can. You are capable of more. You have to move past the trauma and start making sound decisions for you, for your future, and for your kids. Your kids will not suffer because you work. Yeah. They will be better for it. And be careful who you let in your life and make good choices. They say you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I'm a big believer in mentorship. I have some really powerful women that have spoken into my life. My mom and my former boss and even my daughter. Surround yourself with positive people that will be real with you and help you talk through things.
I love that.
And just get it done.
Just get it done.
Just get it done.
I love it. So as our viewers are watching, some of them are going to connect with you and may want to reach out to you. How can our viewers find you?
I am on LinkedIn. I think it's just Brandy Turner.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Brandy, it's so good seeing you. You and I were so close. We were like sisters, going out, dancing, and having lots of fun. Yes. And it has been fun reconnecting with you. You are so strong. You have a very beautiful soul. You are an incredible mom. I can just see the love even through the social media feeds that you post, as to how much you do love your kids. And I know that you are a tremendous role model to them as well as so many other people, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. It was so great to be with you today. Thanks.